I love you, dude. I love you, but you gotta let me talk.
Highest level military intelligence. Tell me more about it.
Or are you waiting for your turn to speak, sir? Are you listening?
Tell me about the highest level military intelligence.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this. Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. And I'm sick of it. I'm not knocking people who are into Q. I'm just telling you. Oh, he's part of a larger thing of Q. Is he Q? I understand magical powers. I'm asking you with your wizard powers. Oh no, from some small part of the larger Q, you don't know, Burris. We're now learning the secret of Q power. He is a Q priest, he is a religion. Q told us that Hillary was in a prison. He's a well-meaning person, but he's a lightweight. Jake the Barbarian, I guess, was his earlier incantation or incarnation. We have Q on the line. Q shaman. Listen, you're a Q wizard. A Q shaman. You are a shamanic wizard. We get that. A Q shaman. Go ahead, Q shaman.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this. Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. And I'm sick of it. Q is like people that look at clouds. One sees a giraffe, one sees an elephant. Highest level military intelligence. The almighty Q Lord, and you are his priest. I don't know if he's for real or whether he's hired in a kite. And it's always, oh, there's energy. So you got a bunch of Q-tards into the Capitol. Oh, Q told us that Trump was invincible. You said he was the Messiah. Trump's a regular guy. He's not Jesus Christ. They'll never, when they're wrong, say they're wrong. We have Q on the line. Q shaman. Listen, you're a Q wizard. A Q shaman. You are a shamanic wizard. We get that. A Q shaman. Really? No, you're full of crap.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this. Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. And I'm sick of it.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, thank you. For Spike Batmensch Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Freedom. I like Batmensch. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Be sure to share it everywhere. Share it all over the internet, every way that you are listening to this or watching this or whatever platform you're on right now. God love you. Just share it all over. Be sure to show big tech and the reptilians that control this planet Earth that we're not going to take any more of their garbage. And we're going to show them that by sharing content on their. Just be sure to share this right now. Be sure to like it, follow, subscribe, however you are consuming this episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Be sure to reward us personally by, if you haven't already, liking, following, subscribing, whatever you do on this thing that you're using. And if you're using YouTube, be sure to hit the old bell. Hit the bell. Hit that bell so that every time we put something up, your phone explodes with notifications. The last thing that we want is for you to sleep soundly while we are live doing something. Give the gift of Muddy Waters today. Kids love it.
Kids love it. First and foremost, I would like to thank the very fine people, the very fine and handsome people and beautiful people at siestacava.com. Siestacava. Why not?
Okay. And allow me to thank the equally handsome and alluring, sexy, I'm running out of adjectives. People at Le Bleu, ultra pure water, kosher, made in America, just like me, and sexy too. Bula Vinaka. So I was just on Kennedy, but I'm used to doing Kennedy for like 4 minutes. I'm used to being on that show for 4 minutes, and this time it went a lot longer. So I didn't get to drink anything, and I'm very parched. So I'm actually going to be drinking a lot of Le Bleu during this episode.
I'm at that camera, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I am at that camera. Okay, just making sure. I don't know, like, so now that I have this whole new setup in the new house, and like I'm used to having the camera much lower, so it's like I can look at you when you talk, but now when I look at you, because the camera is like a foot higher.
Now I'm like, you have to look up, like.
Right, I have to look up to look at the camera. If I'm looking down to like when you're talking, it looks like I'm not paying attention. So it looks like the rest of the show.
I had to, right. And so what I had to do was actually set up so that my laptop screen is right here and my camera's right here. And that way I can kind of like do this number here. Kind of like, it's kind of subtle. But before it was like, yes, Matt, that's an excellent point. And so, hey, folks.
I'm going to have to figure this one out before next week.
This episode, of course, is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing waffle-related caucus in the history of any organization that I've heard of, and certainly anyone could possibly take seriously. Be sure to go to facebook.com/group/LPWHC, or just search for Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, and you will more than likely find our group. Become a member today and become an official member by buying a Waffle House Caucus button by going to muddywatersmedia.com, clicking on the old store button, and then you'll see the button at the store. After clicking the store button, this episode's also brought to you by Nug of Knowledge, smokable CBD. Back to our roots, selling smokables. Nug of Knowledge is not your average CBD supplier because, number one, they're selling weed. Secondly, they also are, in addition to that, they're giving their proceeds to help end the destructive war on drugs. And then finally, they also have a compassionate use program for people who cannot afford CBD products, people like who are disabled and veterans and so forth. So they have a great program for that. And people who use Nug of Knowledge report having increased help with their joint pain and their anxiety, or just for a quick pick-me-up that comes from smoking weed. So go to nugofknowledge.com and use checkout code SPIKE for 10% off. And this episode, of course, is brought to you by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, who was, and shall remain a bitch.
Don't forget about personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds.
Oh my gosh, how could I forget personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, who, if you are in the Tampa Bay area of Florida and find yourself to be injured personally, then Chris Reynolds will make sure that you get as much money. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, Chris.
I did talk to personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, about this, and he informed me that, yes, we are allowed to say whatever we want. He can't.
Chris Reynolds will get you so rich, you won't even believe it. You will be so happy that you were personally injured. Turn that frown upside down today, kids, and go to personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, at chrisreynoldslaw.com. Don't sue me if that doesn't happen, by the way, because I'm Jewish.
He has an uncle that's a lawyer. It's guaranteed. I have never met this person, but it is guaranteed.
I will take you to the law firm. You will hear from my lawyers at Cohen and 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 Goldstein and Jackson. Jackson was a diversity hire.
So other than Kennedy, how was your week?
It was good. I had a good week. I got a little bit more rest than usual. It wasn't quite as busy with interviews, which was nice until I was on Kennedy. Right. And then what's happening? Oh, so on Friday, I'm actually going to be meeting with a very famous and well-respected libertarian speaker in Latin America. She just so happened to be. We started following each other on Twitter, and then she says, "Oh, you're in Myrtle Beach," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I live." And she's like, I'm in Myrtle Beach for 2 weeks, so we're actually getting together to talk about the future of libertarianism in the Latin American world here in the U.S. and also across the country, across the planet. Her name is Antonella Marti, and I will be meeting her. I don't know. I might live stream or something like that, us talking or something, or not. But that'll be pretty cool. Let's see what else is going to be happening. We are not doing a 3-hour show tonight. Thank you for asking.
We are definitely not doing a 3-hour
definitely
show.
not. About a good solid hour plus ish. But yeah, so
about how old she is.
Who?
The woman that you met from Twitter.
I don't even know. Listen, I am happily married. Okay, this is about libertarianism. My wife will more than likely even be there. Like, it's not like that. I don't know. I think she's in her 30s or something. I don't know how old she is. Not that it even matters. And frankly, how dare you?
Fair.
So speaking, how was your week? You had a fun night, huh?
I did. Busy work week, last week. The 3-hour show last Tuesday didn't help. That just kind of threw off the sleep schedule for the rest of the week. But slept in Saturday, slept in a little bit on Sunday, and then Sunday night, I found myself somehow, don't know how these things happened. Actually, I do know how this happened. Muddied Waters Media got invited to the Tampa Bay Bucks post Super Bowl party. Did you get your invite?
No.
Weird.
That's just weird.
I was at the Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl party after they won, and that was a good time. That was fun.
So you were at the official Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl victory party. Yeah, no, I missed that invitation. That's a real shame.
Weird. Yeah, that's weird that you didn't get that invite.
So odd.
So weird. So weird that you weren't there.
I don't get it. I don't get why I wouldn't be there, but I'm glad you had a good time.
Must have gotten lost in the mail.
It must have. That's a real shame. So speaking of lost, our next segment is the Black Cold Brewed Caffeinated Rapid Fire segment, brought to you by Black Cold Brewed Organic Coffee, the most delicious coffee to ever be horrifically misspelled. Go to Black Brews, blvckbrews.com, because spelling means nothing anymore. This is a post-apocalyptic 2021 that we live in. You can spell things however the hell you want. blvckbrews.com and use code MW for coffee. Use code MW for free. That's how we spell coffee now, MW. Use code MW for free shipping. Matt?
So, this week, Joe Biden went on a virtual meeting with healthcare workers in Arizona, and there were a couple of awkward moments having to do with the president. I've clipped together here a few segments. Instead of showing you a 40-minute video, I'm going to show you the very concise 45-second video. So that way you can get an idea of some of the awkward moments that Joe Biden had with
just how it is when Joe Biden talks to nurses.
All right. Well, now I am going to hand it over to Brittany, who is our lead clinical supervisor. She is out at the vaccination tents, and I know she's looking forward to talking with you.
Thank you.
Remember, lead supervisor.
Talking about being a nurse for quite a while.
Are you a freshman at the university?
There we go.
No, no.
You look like a freshman.
Well, thank you.
And you're making a huge difference, and you are inspiring all of us. So thank you for everything you are doing. It really does matter in such a big way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you a nurse?
Oh, God.
I am. I'm a nurse. I'm an RN. I've been an RN for about 9 years now.
We're just not even going to pretend he has his faculties anymore. It's amazing.
Right. So she was introduced by whomever the woman was at the beginning as the lead supervisor of the vaccination team.
Yep.
A job they regularly give to 17 and 18-year-olds. And she speaks for 8 minutes about the policies and how they're doing everything. And I watched all 8 minutes of this.
So that you don't have to, folks.
Right. So you don't have to. I did. Mainly it was just so I could get to that first Are you a freshman?
Yeah.
But after 8 minutes, where she's definitely explaining things medically with knowledge, very coherent.
As one would if they were just a freshman in college. Which, why would they have a freshman in college talking to the president? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you look like a freshman, and she's, no, I'm head nurse. I'm head nurse. And after Kamala Harris is, we're very proud of you. We're very proud of you. We're, everything you're doing. He says
she's trying.
She's
trying.
Salvage this. Let me salvage this a little bit.
She's trying. Just please shut up, Joe. Please.
He follows it with, and you're a nurse. Where have
now,
you been for the last...
thankfully, Joe Biden did come out very quickly with an apology statement. He's good with the recovery, so he did come out with this very, very surprisingly vulnerable statement.
And I had a nurse at nurses at Walter Reed Hospital who would bend down and whisper in my ear. They'd go home and get me pillows. They would make sure they'd actually, probably nothing ever taught in, you can't do it in the COVID time, but they'd actually breathe in my nostrils to make me move, to get me moving.
It's powerful.
If he would have asked her, if she would blow,
have you ever blown
if she has ever done it? Did you ever blow into somebody's nostrils to get them breathing again? Like, if he ever did that,
I know you can't really do this in the COVID era, but have you ever bent down and blown into the ear of someone to get them up and going? That the fact that might happen is,
it's out there and it's a possibility, and it honestly makes me so incredibly happy.
It is not impossible. Folks, there are silver linings to our continued and worsening oppression. Joe Biden's acting this way is definitely one of them. Now, in a different presentation, Major General Michael McGuire of the Arizona National Guard told Biden, who ended his 88 presidential run due to a plagiarism scandal, that other states are welcome to rip off his state's COVID-19 plan. He said, plagiarism is the highest form of flattery. That's what we say. So if everyone wants to copy what Arizona is doing, we think we've got it figured out here. Joe Biden responded by saying yes. And like I always say, plagiarism is the highest form of flattery. That's what we say. So if everyone wants to copy what Arizona is doing, we think we got it figured out here. It's powerful. Again, very powerful.
When I was doing the notes on this section, that part was written in, I think that was on CNN. And they said there were some awkward moments, and they talked about the freshman thing. And then it said, and Joe Biden, who ended his presidential run, his 1988 presidential run due to a plagiarism scandal, and then brought that up. And I was like, that's awkward. That's got to be
That is awkward.
In all fairness, and on the bright side for Joe, he doesn't remember 1988. So
yeah, I was going to say that's all. Is it plagiarism if you don't know it's already been said word for word before, like minutes before, or is it just something worse? It's something worse. It's actually something
much worse.
It's something much worse for someone who has the nuclear codes.
Right.
Now, the good news is he probably does not remember the nuclear codes. The bad news is that means someone else has to know them. This is increasingly depressing. Speaking of increasingly depressing, Donald Trump is, I know this is coming out of nowhere, Donald Trump is being impeached again. So that's going to be heard, is already being heard in the Senate.
Being heard, right.
And the rules have been agreed upon. They are debating and voting today. Did the vote happen on whether or not the trial is constitutional?
Yes, and they voted that it was constitutional. I meant to look up what the final count was on that, but I forgot to today. But
did that just require a simple majority?
Yeah, that one just required a simple majority for it to be constitutional. If I had to guess, just off the cuff, I'm guessing. 50,
I'm going to look it up.
644. That's good.
Yeah,
that is my guess. 5644. But yeah, so they did that vote today. Then opening arguments actually started today as opposed to tomorrow. And the House impeachment managers and Trump's team will have 16 hours over 2 days each to present their cases to the Senate. Now, some of Trump's team members were going today.
What was your guess? 56-44?
Yeah.
I don't know what you win, but you win. That's exactly what it was.
I did not
priceless.
look that up. I did not look that up. That was just that was a guess. Yeah. So some of Trump's members went team law people, the law team.
People.
His defense team. That's the where I was going.
His defense team of law people.
His defense team of Chris Reynolds. They went today. Some of them started today, and a couple of them had decent arguments. Others, no, not really. Somebody said that this is just going to divide the country further. I tend to agree. If you're talking about trying to bring everybody together, I think this will do that. But I don't really think that anybody cares about unity in this country.
I was going to say, I don't think it even matters anymore. I think they want everyone to be divided. So this deal. So under this deal, House impeachment managers and the team, they're going to have 2 days each to present their case to the Senate. Also leaves the door open to calling witnesses. But again, it has to be within that 16-hour time frame over 2 days. And they're hoping to wrap the trial up by next week. Now, let's be very clear about something, folks. There is, they keep saying, well, we need to hold Trump accountable. That's why we're doing this impeachment that has zero hope of actually convicting Trump. You have to get 67 votes in the Senate to be able to convict him. They just only got 56 votes to say that it's even legal what they're doing. It's not. They're not going to get another 11 votes in the next week. That's not going to happen. They're never going to get it. Okay, like they could show Donald Trump shooting the proverbial guy on Fifth Avenue, and they'd at best get 60. They're not going to get that. If they actually wanted to punish Trump and make sure he could never run again, they could simply censure him, invoking the 14th Amendment, where it says something about if you are found guilty of insurrection and or if you have stoked an insurrection or however it's worded, and they could remove him. They don't want to remove him. The Democrats need Donald Trump like the Republicans needed Barack Obama. This is all theater.
The 14th Amendment is on the table. That has been floated multiple times, and the issue with it for Democrats specifically is they don't think it goes far. Like the people on the far left of the Democratic Party don't think it goes far enough. The people who are more centrist in both the Republicans and the Democrats are kind of for it, where they're like, hey, let's just censure him, make sure he can't run in 2024, and then we don't have to worry about it.
It requires a simple majority vote, which means literally if every Democrat votes for it and Kamala Harris is the tie-breaking vote, he can't ever run again, period. That's it. So all of this, doing all of this theater with the impeachment, with everyone knowing that it has 0% chance of actually passing. It is not going to happen. With a 100% chance that if they did it the other way, if they did it with this 14th Amendment invoking that and doing that censure, which would ban him from ever running again, which is about as harsh a punishment as you're going to get for him, knowing that has essentially a 100% chance of winning, 0% chance versus 100% chance. I don't know, folks. It looks to me like the fix is in and that this is all just about stoking the tensions of division to make sure that everyone hates each other.
Now, allegedly, according to one of Trump's lawyers today, the Democrats have hired like major movie studios to create, to create like this long scare tactic propaganda piece to try to convince those 11 senators who don't think this is constitutional that they should do it anyway.
If you think that Michael Bay's movies were bad now, you're going to hate this one.
If Michael Bay does this, I will play it at the opening every week.
I'll play the entire thing.
I will play all of it, all 15 hours of it.
Yeah, I don't care how long. I want the director's cut of impeachment, rise of the Democrats, impeachment 2, rise of the Democrats, and I'll watch all of that. And I already know that Catherine Zeta-Jones' role in that is going to be very powerful, playing probably AOC.
Sean Del Grosso, I hope I'm saying that right. Sean Del Grosso said that M. Night Shyamalan directed it, and if so, because it's M. Night Shyamalan and it has a twist. With a twist.
It's a twist.
It would turn out Q was right.
Oh, wow. That would be, in a Democratic production, that Q ends up being right. That is beautiful. And only to make Alex Jones upset is that the one conspiracy theory that he wouldn't sign on to, it turns out that was right. Oh my gosh, I failed. I love it. I love it. Well,
speaking
of Donald Trump, one of the things Donald Trump did was he had gotten rid of a 10% duty on aluminum, a tariff on aluminum from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, right before he left office. Now, the good news is if you were hoping for aluminum to be cheaper and more accessible for consumers and people that use raw goods to make things here in America so that they can be price competitive with other companies around the world, I have some great news for you. Joe Biden just screwed all that up.
And his reasoning for putting that 10% back, he said, I consider it is necessary and appropriate in light of our national security interests to maintain at this time the tariff treatment applied to aluminum article imports from the UAE. Because as we all know, aluminum is at the center of our national security interests.
The U.S. government is giving and selling weapons to the UAE. But we can't let our national security interests be upset by not charging you, Americans, a tax if you buy anything that has their aluminum in it.
Right.
Now, the irony is that some of that aluminum will be used to make Tomahawk missiles and other weapon systems that will then be sold or given to the UAE to be used largely against the civilian population of Yemen. Thankfully. We're trying to stay positive here. We were asked to be more positive on this show, so we're just going to end every segment by saying thankfully. Thankfully.
People did not like the negative outlook that we had.
The cost of the genocide happening in Yemen will go up 10% on one of the major 10%, roughly 10%. And the good news, the silver lining there, of course, is that you will be paying for that, all of it.
Thankfully.
Other great thankful news. Marco Rubio has reintroduced, speaking of terrorism, unironic terrorism, Marco Rubio has reintroduced his Terror Intelligence Improvement Act. Oh, this sounds like a nightmare already. Terror Intelligence Improvement Act, which sounds like the horror show that we can all expect this to be, which would suspend the gun rights of anyone who is not charged, definitely not convicted, suspected of terrorism. Matt?
Now, this is actually the second time he's tried to do this. The first time it failed miserably.
Good.
But now he feels that he has support from everybody to get this done. And on his website, if you want to go to marcorubio.com, I think that's his website. I don't know. On his website, it says, when an individual who was the subject of a federal terrorism investigation within the last 10 years tries to obtain a firearm.
10 years?
Yep. 10 years. Yep. 10 years. Tries to obtain and I know that this is right because I copy pasted it because I did not want to get anything wrong. 10 years, tries to obtain a firearm, allow the U.S. Attorney General to delay the purchase or transfer for up to 10 business days and file an emergency petition in court to prevent the transfer. If the court finds probable cause that the individual is or has been engaged in terrorism, the Attorney General may arrest the individual.
Wait. Okay. So first of all, 10 years. So if 10 years ago you had a buddy that did something and they investigate you because you were one of the people they talked to, even though you had no idea what the buddy was doing, or so, I'm giving some kind of weird hypothetical, like some weird thing that, they talked to you briefly and hopefully you didn't say anything and you told them lawyer and then shut up and didn't talk to them anymore, as we often talk about on this show. Just say you want a lawyer and then shut up. After that happens,
Florida, call Chris Reynolds.
And if you're in Florida, call Chris Reynolds, especially if they personally injured you.
Right.
But if after 10 years of that, after a decade of that, you go to try to get a firearm, the U.S. Attorney General, the Department of Justice, can delay that and file an emergency petition in court and then possibly have you arrested.
Yep.
For the thing that happened 10 years ago that you were already probably cleared on.
Yeah.
For your safety. Now, I like to play the game, let's pretend that we made government go through this whenever we talk about guns, when we talk about background checks. Would government pass its own background check? Absolutely not. Government has a long history of mass murder and lying about mass murder and lack of accountability and abusing the rights of people and throwing people in cages and, all sorts of terrible things that they do. How about this one? Marco Rubio has been one of the greatest supporters of the genocide in Yemen.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
Now, that may not legally be terrorism, but I'd say that the hundreds of thousands of dead Yemeni children, if they still were able to talk because they weren't dead, probably would say that Marco Rubio shouldn't be allowed to obtain a firearm.
It would be considered terrorism if any other country was doing it and we were the ones watching.
Correct. Unless one of those countries was Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Israel, or a handful of other countries that the U.S. works with to inflict terror on the entire rest of the world, including most recently.
Russia was the one. If Russia or China or somebody else was funding this,
terrorism,
the American government would be up in arms saying this is terrorism. They're committing genocide. We need to make it stop. We need to get in there, boots on the ground, whatever. But the fact that we are doing it, you don't really hear about it.
We're being robbed to pay for them to do it. But yes, because the U.S. government is doing it, we don't really hear about it. And
we don't really hear about it, and it's not terrorism.
No, it's not terrorism. It's democratic terrorism. The beauty is that my favorite part about the U.S.-sponsored genocide in Yemen is that one of the people that the U.S. government, one of the groups that the U.S. government is funding and providing arms for is Al-Qaeda, which means it's treason too.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Yes. But it's not the first time the U.S. government has committed treason.
Thankfully. Now, also thankfully, actually, this is kind of thankfully, Joe Biden's stimulus package for multi-billionaires and crony corporations that will give you $1,400 of your own money and then stick you with the bill for the entire thing at the tune of roughly, I think, $8,000 per American with interest, has hit some snags, thankfully.
A little bit, thankfully. Single taxpayers. So initially, the Democratic Party was starting to splinter.
Yes.
That's kind of an important part for this. They were starting to splinter because some of them were in agreements with some of the more centrist of the Republicans who were saying 75,000 might be a little bit much. How about we lower that to 50? And they were in agreement, and
this is based on your 2019 tax returns.
Right.
So whatever happened to you last year, if you lost everything because, your small business was shut down indefinitely to slow the spread, then it doesn't matter. They're going by pre-COVID. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But so now single taxpayers with annual income of 75,000, married couples that make up to 150 would qualify for the full payment amount of $1,400. which that I believe makes the entire total $3,200 for all of 2020. Well, since
So
the
far,
pandemic really hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Raise
Since
your
the
hand
pan-
if you can live on $3,200.
Is it this current year or are we talking about 1930?
I mean, it'd be tough in 1930. $3,200. No, actually, I guess you could swing that in the 30s. Yeah, no, in the 30s you could swing that.
Yeah, during the Depression?
Yeah, during the
$3,200?
Depression, 3,200 go quite a ways. Post-war era, not so much.
Right.
Post-war era, not so much.
Nope. The legislation would also extend federal unemployment programs currently set to expire at the end of next month through the end of August and increase the federal boost to unemployment benefits from $300 per week to $400 per week.
Wow, that $100. Don't spend it in one place.
No.
Be sure to spread that out onto all of your bills that are piling up because you've been told you're not essential and that you can't work for a living. Unless you're doing Uber Eats like every other poor schmuck in your neighborhood is doing. This is, and the viral tweet I've ever had was where I simply took the $900 that or $600 that was given in the last thing and multiplied it by every single American in the country. Without and not factoring in that a good number of Americans, probably about a third of Americans, didn't qualify for various reasons, and showed that worked out to, I think, oh gosh, that my math is failing me, but it worked out to about a third, or no, less than that, about $200 billion, and that they were spending $900 billion. Where do you think that other $700 billion is going? And it's the same thing, even magnified with this bill. The vast majority of this money is going to major crony corporations and big government agencies to make sure that they aren't affected even remotely. In fact, they actually get more money during this whole nonsense where the rest of us are having our livelihoods destroyed and are being stuck with massive debt bills that we'll be having to pay off for the next 40 years with interest. But you do get an extra $100 a week for unemployment.
That's true. An extra $100 a week. The package includes a 1-year expansion of the child tax credit, making the credit fully refundable and increasing the credit amount to $3,600 per child under the age of 6. And 6 just seems like a really arbitrary number here.
What is that? Does it go down a little after 6, or it's just done once you're 7? Screw you, kid.
3,000. So if they're under 6, they're actually worth 600 more. So if you have a child under the age of 6, they are worth $600 more than a child over the age of 6.
Of course. That's not weird or arbitrary.
Right.
At all.
Because 6-year-olds, fun fact, 6-year-olds require less money to raise than a 5-year-old. Wait. No, they don't.
You know what costs very little is a 15-year-old. They cost almost nothing.
They cost like nothing.
They cost nothing.
They cost nothing.
Yeah. Pennies.
It also includes a 1-year expansion of the earned income tax credit and the child independent care tax credit. And the bill would dramatically increase premium subsidies for Americans receiving their health insurance through the ACA for 2 years.
So in other words, your overall healthcare costs are going to go up because anytime that insurance costs are subsidized, that allows them to increase the amount that they're paying out, which means that the crony corporations, the insurance companies, the medical provision companies, big pharma, everyone involved in the healthcare industrial complex in this country continue to make a fortune. And again, you get stuck with the bill for all of that with interest.
That's right.
But it's okay because you don't have to pay it right now. You have to pay it with interest for the next 40 years.
Now,
thankfully.
Now, the entire Ways and Means Committee, who will be giving out the $1,400 checks and the tax credits for the children, is getting about $900 billion from all of this. So we have about $1 trillion left to find. And I'm not one to quickly say that the media is biased. against like Republicans versus Democrats. Like it's definitely biased against us, but
it pretends we don't exist, but yes.
Right. Definitely biased in their own special way. Now, this was not as easy to find the breakdown as it was when Donald Trump and the Republicans in the Senate were putting in, billions of dollars for new fighter jets.
Right.
Took me a little bit of extra time. I was actually working right up till the point that we went live, and he was like, "Are you ready to go live?" And I'm like, yeah. But 440 billion in help to communities, in addition to the funds for school reopening, which that means they are going to give teachers a lot of money to go back to the classroom to complain about having to teach your kids because they don't want to be there.
Which is what this is what the teachers unions have been holding out for. They keep saying, "Oh, it's the safety of your children." No, it's not. It's not. In most states, teachers were given the prioritization for vaccination. They've shown that children largely do not have. Children are the fatality rate for COVID among children, or even the rate of having any kind of serious illness, or even really having that many symptoms to begin with, is almost non-existent among children. It's kind of weird and paradoxical. Usually children suffer the worst from these types of illnesses, children and the elderly. Here it's the elderly, but children have almost no effect whatsoever. So it has nothing to do with the safety of the children. And of course, these lockdowns and the school closures have led to massive increases in suicide among young children, and depression, and being exposed to more domestic abuse because they can't get away from the situation to report it. They're dealing with all sorts of terrible things, these kids. But thankfully, the teachers unions got their $500 billion in slush funding to be able to finally allow children to be taught again.
Yep.
Thankfully.
Now, included in that 440 billion to help communities, it includes grants and loans for small businesses, although this term was not defined.
Yeah, no, that's going to be like the last one. It's going to go to mostly to chains of large corporations. This. Yep. It's incredible.
160 billion is going for the national vaccination program, expanded testing, public health job programs, and other steps to fight the virus, and expand paid leave for, hang on, I think I still have that up because we went live.
Are we doing notes in live? Paid leave for
the expanded paid leave
for
that
those dastardly.
While eliminating exemptions for big and small employers, the plan would allow for 14 weeks of paid sick and family leave and medical leave for caregivers and other people. I should have just hit backspace on that instead of trying to find that. But yes.
Paid leave, also ill-defined by us.
Somebody.
This is actually a good bit of actual bright side. This was going to have a $15 an hour minimum wage assigned to it, which is great news if you were wanting to lose your small business job to these terrible wage increases that would inevitably lead to, according to the CBO, as many as 1.5 million jobs almost instantly lost, and not much improvement for those who still kept their jobs. You would have millions of Americans getting the real minimum wage, which is $0.00 an hour, which is what you make when you can't find a job because no one can afford to pay you. But on the good note, that wage increase fell victim to the chopping block when Joni Ernst, a Republican from Iowa, proposed prohibiting the increase in the federal minimum wage during the pandemic. Bernie Sanders actually supported Ernst's amendments. He spoke on the amendments to clarify that his plan is to gradually raise the federal minimum wage. So if you ever find yourself supporting a job-killing regulation that's so bad that Bernie Sanders says it's a bit much, then you've possibly gone too far.
Right.
Possibly.
And to be clear, Bernie Sanders just said this needs to be done this needs to be done gradually
Gradually,
over 4
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
This is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
But yeah, he wants to do it gradually over the next 4 years to raise it double in the next 4 years.
Gradually.
Gradually, just a little bit here and there. But yeah, he wants to raise it gradually because jumping to 15 immediately was just too much. And I agree with him. Jumping to 15 is too much. That's all. That's where that ends.
It's too much. We have to look, if we're not, any conversation that doesn't focus on two things. Number one, the fact that the reason people can't live on $7.25 an hour or $15 an hour for that matter for many people is because of bad monetary policy from the Federal Reserve, which has made the US dollar lose 98% of its value over the last 100 years. Or any conversation about the fact that the reason that wages are suppressed and haven't been rising with the cost of living is because they've created these types of job-killing regulations that reduce the demand for American labor and increase the supply of Americans looking for good work, which is called a glut, which leads to lower values. If anything that doesn't talk about deregulating, getting rid of job-killing regulations so that the value of American labor becomes higher as it becomes more demand for it and the number of Americans looking for jobs goes down, which means increased demand, reduced supply, increased value, and also looking at the fact that we need to end the Fed and get the government out of the printing of fiat currency so that our money actually retains or even gains value over time. Those are not serious conversations. Minimum wage increases are not a serious conversation. None of these things will seriously deal with anything other than creating more revenue for government and creating more people who cannot find work and are dependent on government to be able to meet their basic needs.
Right. Now, on Sunday, at the President Speaks pre-Super Bowl interview that happens every year, President Joe Biden said that Democrats may have to punt on raising the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour, at least for now. And he said, I don't think it's going to survive because of the rules of the United States Senate, which is odd because the Senate voted it down in Joni Ernst's proposal, amendment.
I mean,
Now,
if that were his worst, at least he didn't ask Joni Ernst if she were a freshman in college. Thankfully. Yet.
Give that
The
time.
term's young. The term's young.
That's right. We still have a couple, at least another year.
Wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. Maybe about a year. Yeah.
Yeah, about a year. Now, the minimum wage increase is the Senate's. So in the Senate's procedural rules that allow a simple majority to pass a bill, only if a bill directly impacts federal spending or revenue.
Right.
It's a process known as reconciliation. Anything else, like things like forcing people to pay people $15 an hour, would require at least 60 votes to pass. Now, whether or not the minimum wage hike can be passed via reconciliation is up to Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough, an unelected and nonpartisan interpreter of the Senate's rules. So basically, this one person whom I have never heard of before yesterday.
Ever.
No. She's the one that decides whether or not things can be voted on and under what rules they fall.
It would be very easy for them to say that this should pass with a simple majority because it is very easy to say that it impacts federal spending or federal revenue because it does. If you double the federal minimum wage, then you would have both the situation of increased revenue from the workers who didn't lose their jobs and lost revenue from the workers who did lose their jobs and could not find other work because their skill level doesn't afford $15 an hour in this job market. It would easily be able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Now-
to blame that on the Senate, this isn't happening because it's bad economics. It would be immediately disastrous, and politicians prefer bad economics that are disastrous years from now and happen slowly and subtly, not something that causes massive amounts of mayhem that
Right.
they can, that can be directly pinned on one of their bad policies.
Now, Senator Joe Manchin out of West Virginia, he has stated that he would not support a $15 per hour national minimum wage because which would sink West Virginia, even if it was in reconciliation, because he knows that West Virginia, many parts of West Virginia can't afford a $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
And he knows that it would sink his chances of reelection ever again. And
that's what it would sink.
That
he's concerned about. Yeah.
Well, yeah. He is concerned that it would sink West Virginia because he would get kicked out.
He'd also get sunk. Yeah. This actually, so a minimum wage increase across the board like this way disproportionately hurts the lower cost states where $7.25 or $8 or $9. I was shocked to discover we had the Iowa moment that some of you might remember when Matt and I were live streaming the second debate. And I'm in Iowa surrounded by people with the Libertarian Party of Iowa. And I go, no one can possibly live on $600 a week. Come on, raise your hands if you could actually survive on $600 a week. And they all raised their hand. I went,
and everybody in Iowa raised their
everyone in Iowa, not just there in the room, but everyone in Iowa instinctively raised their hand. I went, no, $600? They're like, yeah, I live on way less than that. If you were to increase this to $15 an hour, no one would be able to afford labor. This wouldn't just hurt low-skilled wages. This would hurt medium-skilled and some high-skilled wages as well, where people are perfectly fine making $12 and $13 an hour, and where that's really all that they can afford to pay there because of how low costs are. So there's really, this would sink the South and Midwest.
I know multiple people who are in like supervisor level positions places who make $15 an hour. They're not going to get a raise if this happens.
No.
Like they are just going to be stuck. They're just going to be stuck having an entry level job as a manager.
Yep. What it will actually do is make it harder for them to actually get to work their way up the corporate ladder, because now they're at the bottom rung and they're now seen as just entry-level labor. So unless they do something extraordinary that puts them up and above their peers, they're that much less likely to ever be able to work their way up the ladder. It's minimum wage increases. It is the wage equivalent of lockdowns. It is a unserious it's someone who is illiterate to the situation that's being presented in front of them, looking at it and going, just make them pay more. It's like looking at the pandemic and going, just make everyone stay inside for how many weeks? 2 weeks, stay inside everyone now. Like, it's bad policy. It makes things much, much worse. And anyone who's paying attention knows that this is a terrible thing. I spoke about this on the Kennedy panel, and I forget her name, but the Democrat on the panel said, many economic experts have said that this is a good thing. I said, these are the economic experts that got us in the mess we're in. Why would we trust the foxes that keep letting the foxes into our henhouse go, we figured out how they're getting in. We're gonna put a new keypad on the henhouse from Fox Corp, and that's gonna fix it. Like at some point, we have to acknowledge that these experts are the people that got us in the mess that we're in. Maybe we should look at common sense that says what happens when you and meanwhile, there are plenty of experts that say minimum wage increases are a terrible idea. You can pick and choose. You can cherry pick experts all day long. The last experts I want to hear from are the exact experts that got us in the economic mess that we're in right now.
Right.
So, speaking of experts, we have a segment that is fun.
Before you launch that, completely off topic, I just feel I need to say this. When I was at the after party, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl after party,
that I missed my invitation to.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it, man.
I don't know. Sad.
But I got I got two of the lowest key name drops I've ever gotten in my life, where people were like, the "Don't you know who I am" thing.
Oh, okay.
One of them was the granddaughter of somebody involved with the team. She was like 10.
And she's the one name dropping?
She was like, "Don't you know don't you know who I am?" I'm like, "No, I don't." You're a child. Why would I
You're
know
10. No, how would I know it? Why should I know a 10-year-old?
And the other person, does everybody here know who the sign guy is on Instagram and Facebook?
The sign guy?
Yeah, he's a guy that stands out in like New York or somewhere, and he just holds up signs that have snarky things on them.
Yeah, I know who the sign guy is, of course. What a weird question
The sign guy.
to ask. Oh, that guy, yeah.
That
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He name dropped himself. He was like, "Don't you know who I am?" No. And he's like, "I'm the sign guy from," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
He said, "I'm the sign guy."
Yeah, he said, "I'm the sign guy from Instagram."
I should have definitely been there so that when he said that, I could have given him the same blank stare I just gave you.
Yeah, dude with sign or guy with sign or whatever. Yeah, that guy.
If he had said to me, "Do you know who I am?" I would have absolutely been like, "Well, he's got 7.5 million followers." I vaguely knew about this guy, but if he had come up to me and said, "I'm the sign guy," I would have been like, "Hey."
Yep. Apparently, Bud Light or somebody had paid him to go to the Super Bowl and advertise for Bud Citrus Seltzers. I don't know, and he was there, and I didn't know that it was him, and he name dropped himself. To which I went, "I don't care."
That's wow. Well, here's someone we do know, folks, and that's personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. This is a segment sponsored by...
This is somebody who deserves 7.5 million followers on Instagram.
This man and his disembodied head 100% deserve all the attention. I love Craig Cawley's response. "Sorry, I already have a sign guy." See, that's probably what... When he said, "I'm the sign guy," I would have been like, "For who?" Like that would have been my thing, because when I was in briefly in real estate, and then when I worked with in web marketing and stuff, were like the sign guys, like that's your guy that you get signs from. So that's where I would have gotten like, "I don't need a sign, but thank you." We do everything online. We don't really need we don't need a sign. But personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, he does deserve a sign because he is the sponsor of this and he gives us money. So we definitely, and if you want to get personally injured, if you find yourself personally injured and
Please
you want to get money,
out.
don't try to get personally injured. Okay? I'm not an attorney, but I would advise you against that. But if you do get personally injured, chrisreynoldslaw.com. This segment, I'm never going to tell anyone where my mixtape is, Joseph. Let's explain something real quick. There is, if you look hard enough on the internet, there is a mixtape that I have made. I will never tell anyone where it is, ever. But you can find it. It is out there. It is findable. It is absolutely 100% findable. And if you find it, then you're going to witness some auditory magic, some musical magic when you get that. But,
I'm guessing that you did not use Spike Cohen.
I don't want to say any more. If you find it, you'll know it's me. You'll know it's mine.
How many years ago was it?
This was so this is a collection of hip hop tracks that I remixed the songs. Tupac, Eminem, D12, Bone Thugs and Harmony. I think there's Biggie on there. And some of them are as old as 17 or 18 years old, and some of them I think the last one I did was in like '06 or '07. So, it's the early mid into the late, so right around the mid 2000s that I made this mixtape.
Oh,
and it is out there.
okay.
If you find it, it's beautiful. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but if you can find it, you have to find this.
I feel like you did like an MC Cohen or MC Spike or something, like MC
I'm not
something.
There's way more of me and my name on it than one would think, as hard as it is to find, but it is out there. And there's some reggae in there, some reggae. There's some Diplomats. There's some Cameron. Well, that's Diplomats. Who else is in there? There's some Clips. It's like all the mid 2000s rap, early mid into the late 2000s rap is in there, all completely remixed. It's not. You're not gonna find. You're not gonna. People have found it before. People who were just casually looking on the internet are like, "Did you make this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I made that."
If anybody happens to find this and you send me the link, I will live stream it on Float. I will live stream the entire thing on Float. You'll just see me sitting here listening to it, not understanding a single word that's coming out of any of these people's mouths.
That's racist.
You said Eminem. It's not.
That's true. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not racist anymore.
No. Not understanding.
There's some Kanye in there. It's people are asking where. I'm not going to tell you where it is. It's on the internet. You can find it. But you're not going to. But you might find it, but it's going to be you're hard pressed to find it. But it is out there, and it's really good. And you're gonna be like, so here's how good it is. When people have found it before, they go, why aren't you pursuing a music career? That's how good it is. So if you can find it, then you're gonna be happy. Okay, but you're not gonna find it. But anyway, personal injury.
Our entire audience and me is on SoundCloud right now.
You aren't gonna find it. You are not gonna find it.
Man, you
might find it. You might find it. But listen, keep in mind, this is something I uploaded. Here's a bit of a hint. I updated this, I uploaded this a while ago. That's really all I feel like I need to say. I didn't even need to say that. Hashtag find Spike's mixtape.
Is it on MySpace?
I'm not saying anymore. I'm telling you, you will find.
If
it
it's
is
on
out
MySpace,
there if you look.
I will be so happy.
I'm not saying anymore. But Chris, you know who does have a lot to say? You are avid and faithful and loving followers who we also love. If you go,
it's on LimeWire.
I'm not saying anymore. If you go to anchor.fm/muddied waters, you can also leave messages for us. Okay, that's where you can hear all of our audio episodes, our podcasts, which is just audio version of this. And then also while you're there, you can press a button to leave a message, and you can also press a button to leave a donation. Now, you do not have to make a donation to us for us to listen to or respond to your messages, but we will like you more. So with that, let's
I find
go
it funny that outside of Chris, for the most part, he is the only person who pays us and leaves messages, who donates money and leaves.
We got all these people that give us money, but they don't leave messages. Please leave us messages. We want to answer your. Leave messages even if you don't give us money, but give us money.
Oh, and Josh McCose too.
Oh, and Josh McCose, yeah. Josh McCose as well. Yeah, people, Napster, Kazam. Listen, it's actually. I probably shouldn't even say this. It's not just in. It's actually, last I saw. Oh yeah, you're right. There wasn't an M. It's last I saw it was only in one place.
Was it on Last FM?
No, last I saw.
Was it? Yeah, but was it on Last FM?
I don't know what Last FM is. But maybe. I've said enough. I've said too much already. So here we go with our first message from Josh McCose.
Hey, Matt and Spike and Joe. Josh McCose here. I was just listening to Joe speak about how some of his criticisms seem they have been listened to by his legislature and how they're limiting the powers of his governor, which reminds me of what's happened in my state in
Joe
not really
Salas.
politics, but in the public university, which has funded by the state and the federal government. They in 2012, I was campaigning for Ron Paul, and I was saying that the problem with the university and tuition rising was because the administration was basically loading their pockets, and there's also too much top-down administration causing all the budget issues. And then when they had the accreditation board look at it, they agreed with what I said, and it's funny. 10 years later,
we got a good idea. It cut you off after a minute. Yeah, but overall, yes. The problem, and so when he was saying Joe, I'm like, it was Joe Salosky, our guest.
Yeah, our guest from last week.
Who, by the way, we love Joe.
Guess. Big fan of Joe.
I was I never talked to Joe before. I'd only heard good things, but we've both have shows where we have guests on, and we have guests on this show occasionally as well. And there's always that, if you don't know him, that like, please don't be terrible. And he was amazing. And I was like, not only was he amazing, he was like one of our best guests ever.
I mean, that's not a really long list. I think I can. He was
a fan favorite. He was a fan.
No, he was fantastic. He's so well spoken. And
the way he spoke. I'm Joe Salosky, and as you can tell from my voice, I am clearly a accountant.
No, he had a lot of really good ideas. He's really engaging. He's funny. He's personable. No, I'm a big fan of Joe.
He's amazing.
And I'm not gonna lie. We've had numerous guests on, but he sent Spike and me. He sent Spike and me a thank you message to thank us for having him on, which was kind of a first for us.
It was, I think so. I think I've had guests thank me for being on my show, but I don't think we've ever had a Muddy Waters guest thank us. Like, he's just amazing. I love him.
No, love Joe. Love Joe.
I love Joe. But yes, you're 100% correct. What happens when you have any organization, especially a government-adjacent organization like a university, a public organization like a university, that's getting endless federal funding and sometimes state funding as well, they become incredibly corrupt. They don't have any price equilibrium because they can charge whatever they want, because ultimately it's being underwritten by the federal student lenders and the various grants and scholarships. And as opposed to having to charge what the student can actually afford, because if they can't afford it, they don't go there and they go somewhere else. It leads to lack of accountability and corruption and all the bad stuff that one can expect from such an arrangement.
Yes. Somebody asked for a list of every Jewish rapper, and so there's a notorious.
Well, we just spent the last year giving lists of fake Jewish rapper names.
There is somebody on SoundCloud or on Spotify called Notorious J.E.W.
I believe that. So here, did you want to talk about the college thing?
No.
Yeah, I think we pretty well covered that. But yeah, no, Joe was a great guest, and anyone who wants to help Joe, go to, Joe Salosky.
JoeSalosky.com, right?
I think it's like it's Joe. Oh no, it is JoeSalosky.com. I thought it was like Salosky for PA or something like that. Anyway, no, it is Joe JoeSolosky.com. And so here is our next question from personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your AOC Millennial Minute. In keeping with the AOC theme, we had AOC get on old Instagram Live, I believe it was, and speak directly to the people about lots of things that have been happening lately, and it pretty much went viral, and there have been lots of things said on both sides about that. And so I really wanted to kind of get your guys' take on what happened there, especially Spike, because it really got me thinking about, speaking directly to the people, and specifically LeBron James, how he just had that confrontation with who he called courtside Karen. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks.
So I think this is very clear. I think that lady was standing up for her man. For those who don't know what he's talking about, this is a very important thing. LeBron James was playing a basketball game, as he is wont to do on occasion, and one of the opposing players he got into a dust up with. They were yelling at each other, but because of this situation where the stands don't really have a lot of fans in them except immediate loved ones, it's quiet enough where people on the sidelines can just start yelling at the player like it's a Little League game and they can hear them. And so, or whatever the equivalent of Little League is for basketball, I guess middle school basketball, you can start yelling, hey, you suck. And so she starts yelling because he was going after her man. And she stood by her man, and then she did a series of Instagram posts, videos calling LeBron a bitch, and saying that, you know, anyone who's, you know, calling her a gold digger is wrong. They're wrong because she was with him before he was rich, I think was what she said, which sure. And, you know, and she stood by her man. You know, people are making fun of how she looks or, you know, what she said or, oh, why would you take on LeBron James or whatever. But I say, hey, listen, your loved one, if my wife were playing a game of soccer, because she's Canadian, and we're playing and some other
Would she play soccer
and some
or
other
football?
Soccer. They're like us except not.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, they don't say they say soccer, but then they play it. But so anyway, when as adults even, if that had happened and someone started, you know, like one of the opposing team members started yelling at her or something, I'd be right up there screaming at, hey, you suck. You don't even know how to soccer. My insults would be terrible because I know nothing about soccer, but I'd certainly be saying stuff and they'd probably give me some kind of name or whatever too. But you gotta stand by your partner, Matt. And that's what's important, is no matter what anyone does, you always stand by your partner.
Agreed.
So thank you for that question.
Agreed.
So here's your next one is from, here we go. From Matt Hicks, Laser Legend Hicks.
Hey there, guy on left and Cohen. This is Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, TM. So this is the only message I'm leaving you today because
no, it's not.
I don't.
Liar.
It's sad. I don't really have time to do anything because all I do is read stupid cases. It's getting old.
You had an additional 57 seconds after this one.
But as I understand it, in the very near future, one or both of you are going to be at the LP Tennessee convention in just a couple of weeks. And I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you and your listeners who may be there to ensure that my brother, Jason the Ginormous Turd Hicks, and his beautiful fiancee, Kimberly, who will also be there, and our new to libertarianism, have a good time. Hashtag Laser Legend.
We will absolutely make sure that Jason has a good time. I've actually personally spoken with Jason and, was it Kimberly? Is that what he just said?
And the Bill of Attainder clause.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
That's the second one.
Anyway, I think it was Kimberly. Yes,
it's Kimberly.
They will have
Ashley.
a great time. Crap. Here now you got me second guess.
Be there to ensure that to ask you and your listeners who may be there to ensure that my brother, Jason the Ginormous Turd Hicks, and his beautiful fiancee, Kimberly.
Yeah. No, Kimberly
Jason Hicks in the comments said yes, Kimberly.
Oh, Jason's in the. Oh, wow. Okay, yes.
Jason's
so, Jason,
watching.
yes, we will make sure that you and Kimberly have a fantastic time. It was great talking with you that day, and we're trying to get Matt to come up, and we're luring him in with the promise that there will, in fact, be a representation of the Libertarian Party Trashy Prom Caucus at all, both official and non-official functions at LPTN. You should come. Just blow off your career.
Good job.
Blow off your studies.
Kimberly is in the comments as well.
Wow, gosh.
Yeah, Kimberly Jordan.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, we will make sure that you have a great time, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. You're going to. Well, this is a libertarian event, so you're gonna have fun, and you're gonna walk away thinking that was an interesting group of people. Like, it's just, I don't know how else to say that. Lovable, definitely not run of the mill by even the slightest stretch of the imagination.
Sarah came, superfan Sarah Anderegg came to the national convention.
Oh, she came to the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, she came to the big one. And I don't want to say what she said upon leaving. But every time I think of it, it makes me laugh. So I'm going to say it. And now that she is on the communications team for the Libertarian Party of Florida.
Oh, wow.
Let's just throw this out. She said they seem like those kids in high school who got picked on for being weird, but were just kept being weird.
You're going to have a great time.
You're going to have a great
Jason
time.
and Kimberly. And no one will pick on you. We'd never allow that to happen.
He grew up with
Have
Matt.
fun over at comms, Sarah. So here's our next question from Matt Hicks. Here we go.
What time is it?
Hey, guy on left and Spike. This is Matt Hicks calling in on the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney law anchor calling moment TM. I know I said I wasn't going to call again, but if I don't explain something, it's just going to keep bugging me, so I've got to do it. I don't know if you watched the Senate proceedings today in regards to the Trump impeachment, but Trump's defense team presented this idea about a bill of attainder. And at first I was thinking about it and thinking that was kind of a little bit clever. But then after the fact, it's an absurd argument because a bill of attainder is just that. It's a freaking bill, right? So it has to go through both houses, both chambers of the Congress, and then be signed by the president himself. And the bill of attainder clause specifically prohibits targeting an individual or a class of people. So that's just stupid, man. That's all I got. Hashtag Laser Legend.
Yeah, what little I know about a bill of attainder.
Those were two relatively good questions / comments from Matt Hicks, and I am
in a row.
Yeah, in a row, and I am impressed. I didn't even delete any this week.
Don't worry, he's going to be giving like a 35-minute story about how he walked his dog. Later. Listen, I spent a lot of time with Matt. Matt, yeah, in the beginning, God created life. Matt is an incredible.
Walking my dog.
I spent a lot of time with Matt Hicks on the campaign trail before he had to start law school. You could not find a better, higher quality individual, funny, loyal, intelligent, forward-thinking, brilliant, downright Machiavellian in his ability to, deal with situations as they come up, especially in a weird political, intra-political environment that we were in. Absolutely incredible person. His stories could use a little tightening up. Just a little.
At first, it sounded like you were describing a beagle.
Amazing hearing, just loyal, not very prone to lymph node issues, a great smell, really, really good at ferreting out foxes, almost as good as a ferret.
Oh, well, he's definitely not a beagle.
Why is that? In no way did that describe a beagle.
Well, because he can't ferret out the fox that keeps getting into his yard.
No, you might be a good guy, but you're no beagle, Matt. Yeah, what little I know about a bill of attainder is that you actually can't use it against a specific person. I don't.
I think that they're comparing this to a bill of attainder.
Oh,
right.
I mean, listen. At least they showed up at Capitol Hill and not like a lawn center.
Right.
So there is that.
4 Seasons Lawn and Garden.
See, 4 Seasons Lawn and Garden. Oh my gosh. Oh man. That was. We had 4 years of that, Matt. I think sometimes people forget that. I don't think anyone forgot, but I think in these, moments, you gotta laugh to keep from crying, Matt. Thankfully. Oh, we have one more question. Okay, so we have one more from Kenneth.
If you hit reload, we have 2 more.
Oh. Getting live ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. And so we got a question from Kenneth. Is it Ebel or Ebel? I keep forgetting.
Ebel.
Okay. Here's one from Kenneth Ebel.
Hello, guy on top and guy on bottom. This is Kenneth Ebel, your favorite Iowan corn sucker. So I'm not really into sports. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. But a lot of people.
Are you watching the show on like portrait mode and it's not switching back? Guy on top, who are both sideways.
I'm guessing that he's referring to whenever we have a guest on and we're over on the left and top and bottom. But that makes you the bottom.
Power bottom. Thank you. Anyway, go ahead.
People were upset about the Buccaneers beating the Weekend, and I just wanted to get your guys' stance on euthanasia. Thank you.
I need to watch the halftime show to reevaluate my position on euthanasia.
The Buccaneers beating the Weekend. I think the Weekend he was one himself. The Weekend beat himself like communism in East Germany. But I actually didn't see the halftime show. I didn't. I was going to say I want to watch this. I haven't seen that. I saw the first half and then I had to leave to go hang out with the players.
I had to get to go to bed.
Yeah.
So we have one more question from Josh McCose.
Doge to the moon.
Indeed. What are we at? What is Dogecoin at now? Well, I'm just trying to get the price. Okay, here's the CoinDesk. What are we at now? Oh, it had a little bit of a profit taking. It's down to 7 cents. This was, according to the people who made Dogecoin, it was a joke. And it is now up to 7 cents. It is, and it's now having like healthy patterns of profit taking and increase and then some profit. Like this is what a crypto does when it's not a joke.
In all fairness, President Trump's campaign was a joke and he won.
I started by promising everyone cheesy bread. Everything is a meme now.
That's fair.
I'm now wearing a suit because I was on Kennedy earlier for 3 segments. Everything is nothing meme. One of our sponsors intentionally misspells black. Nothing matters anymore. This guy sells weed. I'm sorry, smokable CBD.
Smokable CBD. It's not weed, people. It's smokable CBD. Our other guy's an attorney. That guy. Look at that punum.
That punum. Someone has a Jewish girlfriend. I love it. I love that you're becoming more Jewish than me over time. So
no, yeah, I know words you don't.
I know, that's why. Yeah, you'll say stuff and I'm like, the what? And you're like, isn't that Yiddish for whatever? I'm like, Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it is Sarah's boyfriend.
Oh, Yingala.
Well, hey, listen, thank you guys for for doing the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. And so we're going to be doing something weird to end this show. We're going to not go on for 3 hours. It's we're going to have like a normal show that's an hour and a half.
It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan. There was a twist.
There was a twist. Is that we're ending now?
Yeah, we're
Alcohol,
ending
weed,
on
and a
time.
lawyer fun to show. That's like a priest and a rabbi joke. Is that it's this? Well, no,
Except
it's not
it's
alcohol. It's coffee.
Yeah, it's coffee.
Yeah. It's cold brewed coffee. It's just in a beer bottle.
Right.
No, so coffee.
If alcohol wants to sponsor two guys who regularly talk about how they're sober,
we're selling weed.
Yeah,
so
fair.
Well, we're not selling weed.
We're not selling
we're
weed.
marketing
We're selling CBD.
Someone else who's selling weed.
They're selling CBD smokables. It's different. In 50 states, it's different.
I was gonna say that green one ain't different in all 50 states. Just put that out there. So, folks, Sarah and Anna, what is that word that she's not?
Almost murdered.
Well, that's a weird way of spelling murdered, but okay.
Maurice.
Oh no, okay, yeah, she clarified. Yeah, she's desperately trying not to get
kicked off of Facebook.
kicked off of Facebook.
That's what happens when you threaten to stab me multiple times. You get
on the
thrown
internet.
off
Yeah.
of Facebook.
No, I don't smoke. Go
I've
ahead.
been thrown off of Facebook multiple times.
And you've never threatened to kill anyone.
No, not on Facebook.
Ever. No. So Audrey said, "Do you smoke?" No, I've been sober for, almost 15 years now. So no.
Yeah, I'm at 7, coming up on 7.
Yeah, but we also believe that the government has no business being involved in what you put in your body, and that it leads to black markets when they do, and that makes everything worse. Joseph Perez says, Spike, are you joining the Mises Caucus? I've been in the Mises Caucus since 2018, I believe, 2019. I was actually endorsed by the Mises Caucus when I ran for the VP nomination. They were one of the first major groups within the party to endorse me. I'm not giving clues about where my mixtape is. Yeah, my mixtape came out shortly after I stopped doing drugs. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you had all this free time.
I had all the free time. It's if you're not going to do drugs, you gotta make some bars.
Right. Man, somebody found something from 2008, and I was like, "Ooh, that could be it."
It might 2008. No, this would be like 06, 07, I think was when it came out. No, 7 minutes. No, it's like it's like 40 something tracks. It's
Is it really?
Yeah, no, it's super long. Like it's I spent years making it. This was my magnus opus.
Did you one time spend
magnum opus? Wait, magnus opus. My magnum opus.
Did you one time spend an hour rhyming things with urination?
Who told you that?
Somebody in the comments said your mom said that.
Yeah, but that's not online.
Man, if that was online, I would spend the rest of my life searching for it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not. That was like just barely the internet was out. Then no one had any recording devices like that. Yeah, no, that does not exist online. But yes, I did. I spit bars for an hour about urination.
If ever you want to kill, if we need to fill an hour,
it may
on one of our shows. Happens. Should we need to fill an hour?
Yeah, it may or may not have been to a DMX beat. It may or may not. It might. So, folks, thanks for tuning into this amazing episode. Tomorrow, I will be on My Fellow Americans. My guest will be Laura Briggs, who is an expert in U.S. policy related to families. She is going to talk about the long and sordid history of institutionalized child kidnapping in this country that has happened even before the U.S. existed and has continued on ever since, and why we shouldn't be surprised in the least about family separation at the border, because that's what the government does, is separate children from their parents on a regular basis, both individually and in large groups. She is the author of a book called Taking Children, and we're actually going to be talking about that, how the government's long and sordid and disgusting history of doing just that, taking children from their families, often for little to no good reason. And then join us back here next week. Same muddied place, same muddied time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Well, no, I guess it's not going to be the same muddy place or time, because we started at 9 p.m. Eastern because I was on Kennedy.
It will be the same muddy place, just different muddy time.
Oh, and Friday morning I'm going to be on RT, but I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to be on a panel talking about Trump's impeachment. So if you get RT, watch all of Saturday morning. Like from I don't know, 6 to noon. I don't know when I'm going to be on there. I think it's hold on. I can tell you.
Stop, drop, mazel tov, lady on top.
That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, this says 10. So I think at 10 a.m., I don't think that's pre-recorded. I think it's going to be a live thing. I'm going to be on RT talking about the Trump impeachment farce.
RT is Russia Today for
Russia Today. I'm going to be on Russian. I'm going to be on Russia Today.
Russian propaganda media.
The Russian propaganda media. I'll be on at
Kremlin
10 a.m.
propaganda media.
First thing in the morning. Brought to you by the Kremlin.
Brought to you by that fantastic Moscow Kava.
My friends over at Moscow Kava. Do svidaniya, beepski boopski. So, and then join us back here on next Tuesday, same muddy place, same muddy time, for the next episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events like the 2020 Wonder Boys that we are. Matt, if someone were to look for us on the internet, is that even possible? And if how?
It is, in fact, possible. All you would have to do is head... Watching you do was just so awkward. All you would have to do is head over to anchor.fm/anchor.waters.
Hey, was that weird when the thing kind of rose up slowly like that?
If you're listening to this on anchor.fm/muddied waters, you have no idea what we're laughing about right now.
This is not nearly as funny as it would be if you watched us on video on Float or YouTube.
However, if you were on anchor.fm/muddied waters, you could donate money by hitting the donate button and
hit that button.
Us up to $10 a month.
Give us money.
$10 measly dollars a month.
$10 little dollars. That's nothing.
Like 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks.
This costs like $1.50. It's like 7 of these. 6 of these.
Right.
So 6. It's like 7. It's like 7 of these. You could have that today.
It is less than 1 of these.
You could skip going to Starbucks 1 time a month, and you could still break even after giving us $10 a month.
And after you hit the donate button, you can hit the message button.
Yes.
If you hit the message button, we will play your questions and or comments live.
We'll be happy to do that. We love to talk to you, to hear your questions.
Or you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Muddywatersmedia.com. Well, that settles it. I'm going to go there right after this show's over. Folks, thanks again for tuning in so much. Let's make sure good luck finding my mixtape out there. You're not going to find it. You might find it. I don't know. But good luck finding it. And folks, thanks again for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow right here at My Fellow Americans.
Hang on real quick. If anybody finds it before March 25th, I will do an episode of the Writer's Block where all I do is play that on float, and I will just sit here for the entire episode and we will play that entire mixtape, all 45 songs of it.
Yeah, it's like 40 something tracks. It's going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours.
If you find the link, email it to muddiedwatersmedia@gmail.com.
Folks, thanks again for tuning in. We will see you right here tomorrow on My Fellow Americans, and then next week, Tuesday, right here for the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Thanks again so much. Have a great rest of your night. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
I love you, dude. I love you, but you gotta let me talk.
Highest level military intelligence. Tell me more about it.
Or are you waiting for your turn to speak, sir? Are you listening?
Tell me about the highest level military intelligence.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this. Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. And I'm sick of it. I'm not knocking people who are into Q. I'm just telling you. Oh, he's part of a larger thing of Q. Is he Q? I understand magical powers. I'm asking you with your wizard powers. Oh no, from some small part of the larger Q universe. We're now learning the secret of Q power. He is a Q priest, is a religion. Q told us that Hillary was in a prison. He's a well-meaning person, but he's a lightweight. Jake the Barbarian, I guess, was his earlier incantation or incarnation. We have Q on the line. Q shaman. Listen, you're a Q wizard. A Q shaman. You are a shamanic wizard. We get that. A Q shaman. Go ahead, Q shaman.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this. Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. And I'm sick of it. Q is like people that look at clouds. One sees a giraffe, one sees an elephant. Highest level military intelligence. The almighty Q Lord, and you are his priest. I don't know if he's for real or whether he's hired in a kite. And it's always, oh, there's energy. So you got a bunch of Q-tards into the Capitol. Oh, Q told us that Trump was invincible. You said he was the Messiah. Trump's a regular guy. He's not Jesus Christ. They'll never, when they're wrong, say they're wrong. We have Q on the line. Q shaman. Listen, you're a Q wizard. A Q shaman. You are a shamanic wizard. We get that. A Q shaman. Really? No, you're full of crap.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. You're full of shit. I will not suffer your Q people after this.